A child made a call, and it changed everything. Tonight's story starts with words no child should ever say.
Please leave. I am not okay with this. Please leave my job. I have to go.
Don't touch me, little man. Move, get back.
Come on, man.
Get back. Move, bro. Move, get back. Get back. No, I'm not. Get back. Please move from my car, bro. Move, little man. Please move.
Oh, you on that?
Move, little man. Move. Get my door, please. Get my door.
The woman you see here, boldly spilling the secrets of deadbeat fathers, including her own, is Shantae Butts, a 31-year-old mother of 4. What she didn't know, as she aired her frustrations and shared her boyfriend's secrets on Facebook, was that he was quietly seething with rage, planning her death. On the night of July 11th, 2025, at 11:47 p.m., the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office received a frantic emergency call from a young child. What he said next would freeze the dispatcher in place. In a voice trembling with fear, the child explained that his own father had not only strangled his mother, but had also shot her multiple times right in front of him and his siblings. When deputies arrived at the scene in Belglade, Florida, they were met with chaos. Children screaming, panic filling the air. And just feet away, lying lifeless on the floor, was Shantae. She had been murdered in cold blood. But as investigators pieced together the details of that fateful night, the truth sent shivers through the community. This wasn't the first time Shantae's boyfriend had tried to kill her, and what detectives would soon uncover was even more chilling. But before we dive into that bone-chilling moment, let me take you back to where it all began.
Happy
Shantae Butts was a 31-year-old mother of 4. To the world, she was known as a hustler, a mother, and an aspiring content creator.
Hello? It's my birthday. It's my birthday.
She wore many hats: home health aide, cleaning business owner, floral decorator, and social media personality. Shantae balanced multiple jobs, all while raising her children as a single mother. But Shantae had her fair share of challenges growing up. She had been adopted, in which she spoke openly about how that experience shaped her outlook on family and love.
So I'm 30, finna be 31, and I was adopted as a child. In between adopted and foster, I don't think people know this, is when you adopted, you belong in that family. So therefore, the state can't come and take you out of that household. Now, if you fostered, you could just get taken at any moment whenever the person choose to get a child. Like if they want a child and they want you, they could just take you. Or if that parent don't want you anymore, they could just send you back to the state, to a group home, you know. So I was very blessed with being adopted by my mom. So as I got older, you know, everybody in my family was doing this ancestry thing. They was trying to find their family, you know, so I was the last person to find my dad. And I really didn't want to find my daddy. It was like, I was like, okay, I'm already content. I got a daddy. My daddy is good to me. My stepdaddy, he good to me. So I wasn't searching for a daddy. I think I was more searching for answers, if that makes sense.
For Shantae, family meant everything. She often expressed in interviews and social media posts how the love and support of her children were what kept her going, despite the struggles life threw at her. She wanted to give her children what she never fully had herself: stability, protection, and unconditional love. As an adult, she built her entire world around her children. Social media posts showed her constantly attending school events, cheering from the sidelines, and making time for family outings despite her hectic schedule. pride for her children was evident in every post. Shantae's posts painted a picture of a mother deeply involved in every aspect of her children's lives, attending school events, game days, and even just spending quality time together. She wasn't just going through the motions. She was a hands-on, intentional parent. Juggling multiple jobs and navigating the challenges of single motherhood, Shantae always showed up for her children. She was determined to give them a better life than she had growing up, and she worked tirelessly to ensure their happiness and security. But her ambitions didn't stop at motherhood. She also ran a cleaning business called Polished by Shay, where she transformed homes and built a reputation for her skill and professionalism. Along with her cleaning business, Shantae ventured into floral decor, creating unique arrangements with liquor bottles and money bouquets. Her entrepreneurial spirit was undeniable, and she took pride in running businesses that gave her financial independence. It wasn't just about making money, it was about proving to herself and others that she could build something of her own, from the ground up. Not only was she a businesswoman, but she was also an aspiring content creator. On her social media, Shantae showcased her humor, her struggles, and her survival story. She often referred to herself as a comedian, turning her pain into punchlines and her stress into relatable skits. With a growing following, Shantae became known for her candid approach to life's challenges. She built an audience through her Deadbeat Daddy series, where she humorously but truthfully called out absentee fathers, including the man who would eventually take her life.
Some women, me, I'm putting myself in that category, make it okay for niggas not to be by that. We'll get with somebody who we know ain't shit right. Just go through the motions, just being in our relationship because we so happy that somebody love us. But we can just love ourselves if that makes sense. Take care of the household, do what we gotta do, because in reality, we just not feeling like we housing a nigga. But in reality, we housing a nigga. And from the outside looking in, it looked like he's helping or contributing because your life is still going on the same way. Reality, you up in that screaming to the top of your lungs because every time you turn around, the bill keep flying past that. You gotta catch it. You gotta be the bill catcher. And the motherfucker just sleep. He may be contributing to your life, but he ain't contributing to your bills in reality, because you so hell bent on doing for yourself, or I've been paying my bills. I ain't gonna let no nigga pay my bills. This and that. No, let him pay half. That's halfway contributing to all your mother problems in your life. Just don't choose no bad niggas. We'll get with some niggas that we feel like, they good for us, and in reality they ain't. Because from the outside looking in, when you was looking at him before, he was with another who was a boss. So she was handling all the way. And in reality, y'all sitting on the other side in that damn green pasture thinking that he doing. And in reality, it's her money who funding the trips. It's her money who paying the bills. It's like it's your money that's paying for your trips and your money that's paying for your motherfucking bills. I really, really hate the dumbass that be like, she just saying that because he not with her. There's a reason why he ain't with her.
But Shantae's content wasn't just entertainment. It was therapy. It was her way of processing life's chaos while also empowering others who found solace in her authenticity. She used humor to deal with her hardships, and in doing so, she connected with people who saw parts of their own struggles reflected in her stories. Through her online presence, she created a community that felt like family, supporting one another through life's toughest moments. Her followers felt like they knew her personally, and she embraced that bond, sharing everything from her proud mom moments to her real-life challenges as a single parent. Her story resonated with many, and she quickly became a symbol of resilience, a woman making it work against all odds. She was living proof that with determination and hustle, anything was possible. But just as she was building her brand, growing her businesses, and building a family, she crossed paths with a man who would change the trajectory of her life forever. A man who, unbeknownst to her, would become a threat to everything she had worked so hard to build. 46-year-old Little Mac Williams, Shantae's ex, and the father of her youngest children, was a man who had a long history of violent behavior. He was nearly twice her age, but acted as though he was still in his teens, with a history of emotional instability and aggression. But despite his violent history, he seemed to escape any serious legal consequences. Little had a rap sheet that stretched back for years. In 2014, he was arrested after an ex-girlfriend accused him of sexual battery. She had visible injuries, including swelling and bruising, and a massive hematoma on her head. However, even with the severity of the charges, Little was sentenced to just 36 days in jail. A few years later, in 2018, he was arrested for stalking and trespassing after repeatedly showing up at an ex-girlfriend's home, refusing to leave, and tampering with her security cameras. He was arrested again, but this time only convicted of trespassing. He spent only 69 days in jail. In 2023, Little struck another woman in the head with an object during a dispute, sending her to the hospital. Again, he was arrested and only served 2 days in jail. But by 2024, Shantae would become his next target. After facing countless betrayals, Shantae reached a painful conclusion. It was time to let go of Little and move on with her life. She even dared to open her heart to someone new, hoping for a fresh start and a break from the past. But cutting ties with Little would prove much more complicated than she had imagined. Despite her efforts, Little's behavior grew increasingly erratic, and Shantae found herself ensnared in a vicious cycle of abuse. No matter how many times she tried to break free, he pulled her back. She took all the necessary precautions, kicking him out of her home, changing her phone number, and installing security cameras to keep an eye on any suspicious activity. She reached out to the police, documented every encounter, and even pressed charges, doing everything within her power to protect herself. But Little's violence continued to escalate. In July 2024, things took a terrifying turn when Shantae reported that Little had forcibly entered her home, put her in a chokehold, and kicked her repeatedly. She came dangerously close to losing consciousness. When she tried to call 911, he snatched her phone and fled. The police arrested him, charging him with several felonies, including domestic battery by strangulation and witness tampering. He pled guilty, but the justice system's response was nothing like what Shantae had hoped for. Instead of facing significant prison time, he was sentenced to just 157 days in jail and given a no-contact order. But this was only the beginning. By October 2024, the situation escalated again when Little broke into her home, assaulted her, and stole her phone. Despite the severity of the crime, prosecutors reduced the charge from felony domestic battery to a misdemeanor. He pled guilty and was sentenced to just 66 days in jail. Shantae had done everything she could to escape him and keep her children safe, but the justice system was failing her. Little remained free, unpunished for his escalating violence, and still determined to control Shantae. It was clear now. It was only a matter of time before his threats would turn deadly. While Shantae was busy creating her viral series, All Deadbeat Daddy, Little had become increasingly hostile. To her followers, the series was a cathartic outlet, a raw, unfiltered commentary on the absent fathers in her life, including Little. But to him, it was a humiliation. How dare she talk about his spoiled character in the open? He saw her videos as personal attacks. What Shantae thought was empowering self-expression, Little interpreted as a direct assault on his pride, and his resentment grew. He needed to do something about it. By July 1st, 2025, the tension had reached a boiling point. Little showed up at Shantae's workplace, confronting her in front of others.
Wow! Please leave.
Please leave. I am not okay with this. Please leave my job. I have to go.
But this would prove to be just the beginning of the nightmare.
Just days later, deputies were called to Shantae's home in Belle Glade, Florida, once again. She reported that Little had shown up outside her house, pounding on windows, yelling for her, and even taunting her about a missing firearm. He refused to leave. This time, something in Shantae told her she may not survive another of Little's attacks. She even shared this with the deputies. That same night, she made an agonizing decision. She filed a restraining order against him for stalking and harassment. But the horror didn't stop there. Later that evening, Shantae checked her doorbell camera feed and saw Little pacing outside her house, tampering with the camera. It wasn't just harassment anymore. He was hunting her. Fearing for her life, Shantae fled to a hotel in nearby Clewiston, hoping for a brief moment of safety. But even in the hotel room, she couldn't escape the chilling thought that he would find her. Desperate, she took to social media, posting about her ordeal and how the justice system had failed to protect her. She shared her fear, hoping that by speaking out, someone might finally listen. Despite her requests for help, the courts handed down insignificant sentences to Little, and the police seemed unable to stop him. The law's failure to intervene meant that Shantae's abuser was free to continue stalking and terrorizing her even after multiple restraining orders were in place. For all the talk of leaving your abuser and speaking up, the system did not offer the protection Shantae so desperately needed. Leaving an abuser doesn't guarantee safety. It often signs a victim's death warrant. Restraining orders and police reports weren't enough, and the more she fought to protect herself, the more Little escalated his behavior. Just when it seemed like Shantae had done everything she could to break free from him, Little took his obsession to new heights. What happened next would prove to be the final chapter in this tragic story. On July 11th, 2025, Shantae's worst fear became a reality. On that fateful night, Little broke into Shantae's home through a window. He physically assaulted Shantae's boyfriend, who was in the bed, and shot him in the chest. The boyfriend, though severely injured, survived, but Little wasn't done. He turned on Shantae, strangled her before shooting her in cold blood as her children watched in horror. Shantae's son, traumatized by the sounds of violence, called 911, telling the operator that his mother had been shot. But nothing prepared investigators for the sight waiting for them on the scene. By the time the police arrived, they found Little lying in the street, hands behind his back, surrendering like a coward. Inside the home, Shantae was found unresponsive and later declared dead at the scene. But even as the police processed his arrest, the question is, why had it taken this long for Little to face any real consequences? Shantae's children, including her young son who'd watched their father strangle and shoot their mother in cold blood. The horrific act not only stole Shantae's life, but also left her children scarred forever. Shantae's death was a wake-up call to the flaws in the justice system. Despite her multiple attempts to escape Little and protect herself, the system failed her. The restraining orders, police involvement, and even charges against Little weren't enough to stop his violent behavior. She had documented the abuse and repeatedly warned that she feared for her life, but in the end, it was not enough. 4 children were left motherless, and Shantae's family was left devastated by her senseless death.
On the other side of that door, the deputies boarded up. They say at least 6 children were inside of this mobile home, and they had to listen as 2 people, one of which their mother.
But you can't see right now. It's just her face. That's all I can remember.
This neighbor asked to remain anonymous for safety reasons, but she talked with me about what she witnessed Friday night after her son heard fire.
He said, yeah, the door's still open. So I started walking over there.
As she entered this home on State Road 715 in Belle Glade, she says she saw the suspect, Little Mac Williams, and even spoke with him briefly as he left the home.
I say, where the kids? He said, they in there. I asked him where she was at. He said she was.
The neighbor says Williams was referring to Shantae Butts, his ex and mother to his children. She went inside where 6 children greeted her.
I said, where your mama? Said she in now.
Keeping the kids out of the room, she first found Butts' boyfriend.
I thought he was because he wasn't moving.
Then she spotted Butts.
She was down. She was down. I can't shake that part.
You can't shake what part?
Her eyes. How she looked.
Traumatized, but realizing the boyfriend was still alive, she tried to help.
I can just remember 17:22, 17:20, because I was counting the seconds between his breaths.
Medics rushed the boyfriend to the hospital where he's in stable condition. Palm Beach County deputies say Williams broke in through a window, started fighting the boyfriend, and then fired multiple shots.
He had gashes in his face, like scratches. Like they had been fighting. You could tell the room they was fighting.
Checking court records, Williams has a lengthy rap sheet, pleading guilty to domestic battery by strangulation, felony battery, and drug charges. However, the witness tells me Butts never thought the relationship would cost her her life.
She was scared. She wasn't expecting it. The look on her face was like she wasn't expecting it.
Now, Williams had a warrant out for his arrest just days before this happened on a burglary charge, but he wasn't picked up in time. And now he's sitting in the county jail facing a first-degree charge. In Belle Glade, I'm Kayla McDermott.
Little Mac Williams' arrest and subsequent charges for first-degree murder, attempted murder, and felon in possession of a firearm were too little, too late. No legal consequence could bring Shantae back or undo the trauma her children now had to live with. The aftermath of Shantae's murder shocked the community. Despite her attempts to protect herself and seek help, Shantae was dead, and the world was left wondering how this could have been prevented.
Also in Palm Beach County, one person is dead, another is injured after a in Belle Glade. The suspected gunman, now behind bars, 46-year-old Little Mac Williams, was arrested after allegedly running away from that crime scene. It happened just before midnight on Friday on State Road 715 in Belle Glade. Deputies received a 911 call from a child who said his stepfather broke into the home and heard his mother being. When deputies arrived at the home, they found Williams' ex-girlfriend and her current boyfriend both suffering from gunshot wounds. The ex-girlfriend, the other victim, was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. Williams surrendered to deputies. The suspect now faces first-degree charges.
Little had already been arrested multiple times for domestic violence, stalking, and battery. Yet each time, he received minimal punishment. His history was well documented, from felony battery charges to violating no-contact orders to repeatedly violating restraining orders. But despite this, each time he was released with little consequence. Now, with Shantae dead and his actions leading directly to her death, the legal system would finally have to answer for his reign of terror. In the days following his arrest, the community rallied around Shantae's family, with friends and loved ones expressing their anger and frustration at the justice system. Shantae's death wasn't just a tragic loss, it was a stark example of how domestic violence cases can be brushed aside, leaving women like Shantae vulnerable to the very abusers they try to escape. As the legal process continued, Shantae's family was left grappling with the loss. Her children were now orphans, forced to grow up without their mother. The pain they would carry for the rest of their lives was immeasurable. They were now part of the growing number of children who would be forced to live with the scars of domestic violence, emotional, physical, and psychological trauma that would affect them for years. Shantae's family and friends were vocal in their frustration with the justice system, which had failed her repeatedly. They were tired of seeing abusive men walk free, only to escalate their violence until it became deadly. Shantae's story wasn't just about one woman's death, it was about the countless women who face similar battles every day, often with little to no support. The failure of the legal system to protect Shantae was in a way a failure to protect others. While Shantae's family and friends fought for justice, they were left with a painful reality. No amount of legal consequences could bring her back. The system's failure had set the stage for a tragedy, and now the only thing left was to seek justice for her and her children.
Survivors of domestic violence are told to speak up, document everything. But for one Belle Glade mother, even that wasn't enough. Tonight, we're uncovering how her fits into a larger pattern and why advocates say the system is still falling short. CBS 12's Katie Benty joins us live in the newsroom with that story. Katie?
Liz, Shantae Butts told deputies she was being stalked. She had the video, she filed reports, and just days later, she was in her home. Shantae Butts was a mother of 4 inside her Belglade home last week. Deputies say it was her son who called 911. The man accused of her, Little Mac Williams, her ex, and the father of her children. Investigators say he also her current boyfriend who survived. Court records reveal a decade of abuse across multiple relationships. In 2024, Williams broke into Butts' home, her, and took her phone. He was convicted, ordered to stay away, but he came back.
Please leave.
She posted this video to Facebook of what appears to be Williams waiting at her job.
Please leave my job. I have to go.
She told deputies he later stole her. Then there's this, a log showing Williams on her doorbell camera more than 20 times in one night.
If law enforcement's being called, something's going on. There's something major that's happened.
On July 5th, deputies issued a warrant for stalking, but he wasn't arrested. 6 days later, she was.
The homicide rate is high, especially when someone's trying to leave that abusive situation. That's when they're at the highest risk.
Advocates say survivors often do everything right and still don't make it out.
Safety planning, escape planning, all that's happening right from the minute that we get that phone call.
And it's not just Butts' case. In 2023, a Boynton Beach woman was less than an hour after filing a police report about her ex. Williams is now behind bars, charged with attempted murder and being a felon in possession of a firearm. But advocates say it's too late for Shantae Butts, and unless something changes, more survivors will die asking for help. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Katie Benty, CBS 12 News.
At his trial, the prosecution outlined Little's long history of violent behavior, drawing on his previous charges and convictions. Despite being arrested multiple times for domestic violence and harassment, his punishments had always been light. He was a repeat offender who had been given countless chances, yet he continued to spiral further into violence.
The focus of the state attorney's office is to go after violent offenders and habitual offenders, and in domestic violence, that's no different.
This was a key aspect of Shantae's case. The legal system had continuously failed to prevent him from harming others, even after numerous warning signs. The defense tried to argue that Little wasn't entirely responsible for his actions, claiming he was acting out of passion or confusion. But for Shantae, this was just another attempt to evade responsibility. It was clear to them that Little had set out to end Shantae's life that night. He had a history of abusive behavior and had made it known that he would not let her escape. The jury was confronted with the harrowing 911 calls, emotional testimony from family members, and the chilling evidence of Little's violent criminal history. There was no doubt that he posed a serious threat to society, and it became clear that Shantae's tragic death was the horrifying culmination of years of escalating violence that had gone unchecked. Yet with the overwhelming evidence, justice was still a distant hope, and the road ahead promised to be long and uncertain. As Little Mac Williams sat in a county jail in Palm Beach County, Florida, facing charges of first-degree murder with a firearm, attempted murder, and possession of a firearm by a felon, the case against him took on a weight of its own. Prosecutors vowed to seek the maximum penalty, pointing to Little's status as a repeat offender and the brutal nature of the crime. With these charges, Little faced the prospect of life in prison without parole or even the death penalty. But even the severity of the situation, we can't help but ask, why did it take Shantae's death for the system to finally take him seriously? The repeated failures to hold him accountable in the past only served to deepen the sorrow and frustration felt by those who had watched his violence spiral out of control. As the trial continued to move forward, Shantae's family and supporters were left grappling with an impossible question. Would justice finally be served, or would the system fail again, abandoning another woman and her children to a man who had shown nothing but contempt for the law? Shantae Butts' story, though heartbreaking, sparked a much-needed conversation about domestic violence, especially in cases where victims actively seek help and protection. Her tragic death served as a reminder of the inadequacies of the justice system and the urgent need for reform in how domestic violence cases are handled. Her case shed light on how victims often face an uphill battle when trying to escape an abusive situation. For Shantae, the system's failure was deadly. For others, it's just as damaging, perpetuating a cycle of abuse and violence with no real solution in sight. Shantae was more than just a victim. She was a mother, a businesswoman, and a fighter. She did everything she could to protect herself and her children. Unfortunately, the system didn't. While her killer may be in jail waiting his sentence, it can never undo the trauma her family faces. Shantae's death is a painful reminder of the need for systemic change in how we handle domestic violence. It's a call to action for lawmakers, law enforcement, and society at large to recognize the signs of abuse and to take real preventative steps to protect victims before it's too late. Her story should serve as a wake-up call for all of us, because until we address the systemic issues that allow abusers to go unchecked, too many victims will continue to fall through the cracks. My condolences to Shantae's family and friends. May she get the justice she deserves. What do you think about it? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.